I'm not going to say I would seek canyon roads to carve out, but if you needed to quickly make your way through them to get to views like this, then the GX could do it. Hey crew, I've got the key with a bunch of stickers on it to this all new Lexus GX 550. We are going to take it on a first drive here in Tucson, Arizona, but first, let's check it out what it looks on the inside and outside. There's so much to go over with this all-new GX. It's the first new GX in 14 years and only the third ever generation. Starting up here at the front, we still have the Lexus spindle grille, but it's been sort of restrained here on the new model, which I really appreciate, and it's here in this black finish, contrasted by what is my favorite color for, I think, any Lexus, this Nori Green Pearl, which in shadow looks black, but then that sun hits it and the green pops off with all that metallic flake. Here we have these projector LED headlights, these triple beams that are standard on the GX with a spear hook LED daytime running lights, and then your LED turn signals underneath and some fog lights down below. Visibility was a key focus of the new GX for the Lexus team, and that's why there is this depression here in the hood so you can see out over the hood easily, but then they kept the raised portions at the ends so you could kind of have an idea of where your wheel placement is when you're off-roading. They really pulled out all the fenders there, and here on the normal GX grades, not the over trail, the over fender pieces are body color matching. Here on this Premium Plus trim, this is sort of the core grade that Lexus expects most people to buy for the new GX. We've got these 20-inch wheels with a two-tone finish that they don't really do much for me, but they don't look bad, certainly, and they're wrapped in this Yokohama Geolandar all-season tire. Running boards are standard on all versions of the GX, and only the Luxury Plus trim has power folding running boards, and what's cool about those is that you can press a button on the interior and keep them held in, so if you're off-roading, they won't be protruding out and getting hung up on things. And speaking of things being designed not to get hung up on debris or whatever, these door mirrors are narrow and tall so that branches don't so easily scrape on them. They're also power folding as standard, and the height of them means you can actually view stuff that might be mounted up on the roof. The profile of this new GX is just fantastic. The boxiness, the straight lines, the hard crease from nose to tail, the proportionality of this new GX compared to the nose-heavy previous generation. They retain the short overhangs for excellent approach and departure angle. And here at the back, they raised up the taillights. You've got this straight bar across. It says Lexus spelled out above that. They retain the pop-out rear glass, so you can easily access things without opening this new power tailgate that lifts up. No longer do we have the swing out, which means some GX fans are going to miss that, but it was still more work. This one, less work. And all GXs get a frame-welded hitch receiver, and now the overtrail and the right trim configuration can tow over 9,000 pounds. There isn't a bad angle on this new GX 550. There isn't something where I was like, oh, they could have tweaked this. No, it all looks fantastic, set off perfectly in this Nori Green Pearl paint. Now we got to take a look inside. Opening up with smart keyless entry for all four doors and looking inside at this Dapper Grey colored interior. It's a two-tone gray. It's one of three color options, including black and saddle brown, which would look really good with the Nori Green Pearl exterior. The seats are perforated and they're in a leatherette material. Only the Luxury Plus gets real leather. They're also heated in the second row. Pull on this tab and they'll tumble forward, giving you a decently wide access point to the third row of seats. This whole kind of configuration to get to the third row and then raising up that third row is so much easier than the previous generation GX, which were like jumper seats that folded out of the floor and took many steps. There's still only two of them, not three. Sliding over here behind the second row, which is actually angled back a little bit. At 6 feet tall, my knees do clear, but the body-on-frame floor raised up means that I don't have a great knee angle at all, and the head is brushing up against the roof. I'll kind of show you from this seat on that camera. Yeah, head sitting on the roof. So this wouldn't be perfect for taller adults, but kids will have no problem being back here, and you do get cup holders along with power reclining and inclining seats. I was at peak recline there. There are also USB-C ports on either side, and to get out, you pull on these tabs on the back of the second row. The same lever you pull to tumble the seats forward also adjusts the angle of the seat back, and there's a decent recline there. On the Premium Plus trim, you don't get rear sunshades. It's available on higher trims. You still get tinted rear windows, this softer touch material on the armrest, injection molding up high, harder plastics are down low, nice contrast stitching here in this fake wood material, one-touch windows, and then grab handles to make it easy to get in. Here behind my own seats at 6 feet tall, I do have decent knee room. The foot pockets are nice and large. Thigh support, like the third row, not that great, but headroom is excellent, especially with it reclined. Even with it inclined though, head still clears the roof because there's a cutout here just above my head. There's a third zone of climate. I mentioned the rear heated seats. You get 2 USB-C ports down there, and the drive shaft hump isn't too large to get over into the middle seat. I can fit here as well. So you could stick 3 full-size adults with the bench seat, more likely larger people on the sides and a smaller person in the middle. You can also option captain's chairs. Before hopping into the front seats, I wanted to show you the cargo situation. So I mentioned they've moved to a power tailgate that lifts up, not a swing out on the side. This is your cargo behind the third row if you have these up. It's not a whole lot, and under here is not much storage at all. To get these seats down, you do have power fold. We'll actually have to send the headrests down first and now power fold them, but they're not one touch. So you have to hold these buttons, and they're also not that fast. It's gonna take a while to get those seats down. While they're folding, I'll show you that your jack is in here on the side, bottle jack. And now with the seats down, we've got much more agreeable storage space. And this is actually how the overtrail is configured. Without a third row, you just have all this storage. And yeah, they're not designed well with the cargo cover. So if you have to take it out, there's nowhere to store it inside the vehicle. It'll just end up sitting in your garage. 2 more quick mentionables while I'm back here. There is a 400 watt AC outlet and power close and lock feature on that tailgate. And the tailgate release button up front is just to the left of the steering wheel. That's also how you turn on that AC outlet. The front seats are multi-way power adjusting. They're heated and ventilated as standard, massaging as an option. The front material mix on these doors is about the same as the back. You do get 4 one-touch windows, power adjusting and power folding door mirrors, and more grab handles to make it so easy to get inside. And the door close thud is really very solid. The leather wrapping on the steering wheel feels excellent in the hands. It's thick, and it also is not a very large diameter steering wheel, which is unusual for off-roading vehicles. I'll tap this button twice to put us in accessory mode, turning on that digital gauge cluster, which is standard, as is the 14-inch touchscreen. And then there's a head-up display as an option on this vehicle. Around the gauge cluster and infotainment screen is leatherette wrapping, I should say. And the infotainment is pretty darn responsive. It's easy to use, easy to find things. I like that the climate controls are all kept down low, and they have these dials to adjust the temperature really intuitively without distraction. There's wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well, a physical volume knob, and I love that they kept the dashboard super horizontal. So the infotainment screen isn't raised up or anything. That improves your visibility once again, along with the exterior design of this truck. Below that, we've got 2 USB-C ports. There is a DC outlet hidden there, your drive mode selector, some off-road controls there, and other ones back here behind the leather-wrapped gear selector. This covers your 2 cup holders. There's a wireless charging pad on this trim, leatherette topping the console. Inside is good console storage, and you can option a cool box to cool your drinks for you. You can also option a digital rearview mirror to see through anything you might have in the cabin. This power sunroof is standard. It's got a manual sliding cover. There's also an optional glass roof that you can change the opalescence of. I'm really into this cabin as much as I am into the exterior of the GX. And now it's time to go take it for a drive. All right, let's fire it up. Such refinement from the startup of the twin-turbo V6. And before I actually engage gear, I do want to show the surround view camera system, which has been updated on this new GX and is standard here. So you get this panoramic surrounding view, and you have one that comes from the inside of the vehicle, showing you probably best for parking, how close you are to things. And then if I go into reverse, it changes it up to give me a top view, also in high resolution, wide angle backup view, and you can go to an ultra wide angle as well. In drive, that changes to front facing camera views. Hit the view button one more time. And you've got this low wide angle, which will be great for off-roading. There's a multi-terrain view monitor that we'll access when we are off-roading a bit later in the over-trail model. For now, this is kind of just how you might see it in your day-to-day drive. And right now, this is my mode selector. I'm going to start in the normal drive mode. And there are other modes for off-roading that we'll tap into a bit later. Beginning with a turning radius test, I'm not going to use this circle here. I'm just going to swing wide and then crank the wheel and see if we can't get it in one go. Yes. I mean, it's not the tightest turning circle, but it's not bad. And now how about the world famous horn test? I know you want to hear that. That sounds premium. It's a good sounding horn. Turn signal sound as well. There's also an air of refinement to that. The powertrain, I mentioned it briefly when we started up the vehicle. We've moved from a 4.6 liter V8 in the previous generation GX to a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. And with that change, though displacement is down, twin turbocharging gives us much more power and torque. Power is up from 301 horses to 329. And torque is way up from 329 pound-feet to 479. That's 150 pound-feet more than the outgoing V8. And that is paired with a 10-speed automatic gearbox. No longer do we have the archaic 6-speed with that V8. And so to kind of start this video, what I was looking for with this new GX is not an improvement in ride comfort or smoothness or quietness, but really just addressing three core areas that the previous gen GX fell short on. And that was the design, for one. It just looked like it was stuck in the early 2000s, both exterior and interior. And I already can say this new GX is a massive, not a small, not a medium size, a massive leap forward in those categories. And then for an improvement in the powertrain, the engine and transmission. And already a look at the spec sheet tells us we're moving in the right direction. And I'm glad that the GX retains a 6-cylinder, not like the new Land Cruiser, a 4-cylinder. This feels very nostalgic for me. I mean, I have an 80 series Land Cruiser with a straight 6. Here, we still have a 6-cylinder, but you know, modernization, twin turbocharging, a lot more power, a lot more torque on offer. And if you know the Lexus portfolio, then you know this powertrain didn't come out of nowhere. It actually came from the Lexus LS500, which I drove not too long ago and was very impressed with. But there it was in a flagship vehicle. Now this is not Lexus's flagship SUV. That would be the LX, but it is a completely reinvented vertical for them. They're just kind of coming back after their off-road heritage with this new GX. And I think this engine is the right choice. Certainly around town here, it's proving to be very smooth. The transmission is imperceptibly changing between the gears. And the ride quality is about what I'd expect from a ladder frame chassis that's had the Lexus touch of comfort, I would suppose. The seats feel very nice. Now, it's important to note that this body-on-frame architecture is unique in the segment. No other vehicle, and that includes the Land Rover Defender that this vehicle is really gunning after, has a body-on-frame architecture, that really kind of structurally rigid but very durable architecture that has been notorious for off-road vehicles. Everything else is unibody, and there are strengths and weaknesses to that. I would say ride quality is a strength of a unibody architecture, but this isn't giving too much up to that. It feels really very good on the road on these 20-inch wheels. We'll have to see whether the Luxury Plus with the 22-inch wheels still rides without some harshness to it. But I imagine on the 18-inch wheels with the 33-inch all-terrain tires, all that extra sidewall of the Overtrail would ride even smoother. And I'm really appreciating all of this great visibility when I'm staring at scenery like this in Tucson. Just gorgeous. But yeah, more on that visibility. They brought back the A-pillar, so the front windshield is more upright. I feel like I'm seeing out over in a panoramic view, much like the Mercedes-Benz G-Class, which is a vehicle I was praising very recently for having narrower A-pillars and just that great view out the front. This feels very much like that, and the taller side windows with that lowered belt line also feels like I can just get this great posture to see out of every part of this vehicle. Even the back pillar, which isn't a terribly large blind spot. Of course, you're cured with the blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic, but I just love naked eye visibility, especially in an off-road vehicle like this, and it's really impressive. And now that I'm joining the highway, I'll have a chance to put my foot down, so let's move into the sport drive mode. Oh my. There's so much torque here, and I actually think I misquoted the horsepower figure earlier. I said 329 horsepower. It's 349, so we've got 48 more horsepower, but 150 more pound-feet of torque is really the deciding factor to give the GX the grunt for passing power and to give you the confidence for joining a highway or making a lane change. Yeah, there's a lot of torque here. And while we're missing the sultry note of that naturally aspirated 4.6 liter V8, this twin turbo 3.4 liter V6 doesn't sound all that bad at wide open throttle and is otherwise very quiet. Now as I back out of sport mode, go into eco drive mode, I'm gonna listen for the level of volume in here at highway speeds on this frankly louder road surface. So yeah, we're getting some tire noise from this road surface. Getting wind noise, which I expected, frankly. More upright, this new GX, boxier, it's gonna be less aerodynamic. We're gonna get more of that wind noise inside. But all is within the realm of reason, and I would argue is not that much louder, if at all, than the last generation GX. And that's certainly one thing I didn't want them to change. I didn't want the vehicle to be any less enjoyable to live with, any less comforting, soothing to drive, and the seat comfort and the cabin quiet is now much quieter on this different road surface are big wins for me. And other things that this GX has that the old GX does not include all of the added safety features. We do have adaptive cruise control with steering assistance, so when it knows where the lane markings are, it'll assist you in staying in the center of that lane. I'm just taking my hands off to demonstrate here. It's not a hands-free system, but this has a curve to the road, and the GX is plotting it perfectly, even as that road surface undulates. You can change your following distance, set your speed. And I mean, these features are so unique on a body-on-frame SUV. This is going to be perfect for overlanding, long distance travel. This will reduce some of the fatigue of driving on the highway for a long time before you can then head off-road. But before that, you know I've got to do a real-world 0 to 60 test. So I've found a straight piece of road here. I'm back in the sport drive mode, and I'm going to brake boost it off the line here to see how we do. Oh my gosh. There's 60 already. Now, I didn't have my race box with me, but I did have a simulated timer going, so you'll know more than I will what that 0 to 60 run looked like. But it felt way quicker than Lexus's estimate of 6.5 seconds. And just to be fair, because that was a slight downhill grade, I'm going to do the same thing facing uphill. Holding, letting go, and surging to 60. A little bit slower it felt, but just as potent. And the final on-road question to be addressed is about the GX's handling. Does it feel cumbersome in this kind of environment? Is it too top-heavy? Well, for one thing, the throttle and braking is very natural feeling. When you got peak torque from just 2,000 RPM, and brakes that respond well but aren't too bitey, don't dip the nose too hard under hard braking. The electric power steering isn't brimming with feel, but it's still easy enough to direct the GX through tighter curves like this. And there is some lean. That part of the body-on-frame architecture is difficult to combat, but it doesn't slosh so much that you feel nervous. Like in an emergency situation, if you had to dart the vehicle one direction to the next, wouldn't feel like it was going to roll. I'm not going to say I would seek canyon roads to carve out, but if you needed to quickly make your way through them to get to views like this, then the GX could do it. In my next video, which is live right now, I'm going to hop into an over-trail version of this new GX 550 and see what it's like off-road. So jump to that video and I'll see you in the dirt.